Ciao everybody, welcome back to Organic Italian. I'm Brianna and today we're making a sartu di riso. Now this is a typical Neapolitan dish and the best way that I can describe it to you guys is it's like a giant rice ball except it's made in a bundt pan. So let's go get started so I can show you guys how to make it. So for today's recipe you're going to need some shredded mozzarella, some plain breadcrumbs, eggs, some bay leaves, about a cup of grated parmigiano, some celery, carrots, garlic, onion, fresh basil, and I can't stress this enough, fresh basil, not dried, some ground meat of some kind. It can be sausage or beef, pork, veal, turkey. This is ground beef, tomato paste, some butter, some arborio rice that you would use for risotto, and some vegetable stock. Again, you can use chicken stock or beef stock, whatever you feel like using. And probably the most important thing that you need is a bundt pan of some kind. Bundt pans come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, but without it, you can't really make this traditional Neopolitan style rice cake. So for the first part, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over to the food processor because it just makes life easier. And I'm just gonna throw in a whole onion chopped in 4, 2 cloves of garlic, 2 carrots that I peeled and chopped, and 2 stalks of celery that I chopped up. Now, again, measurements for everything in the recipe will be linked down below as always, and I'm just gonna pulse this a few times. I don't want it to be super pureed or anything like that. I just want it to be, you know, a rough chop, and I don't feel like standing here and chopping it all. So you want to go ahead and start off by putting some olive oil in the bottom of your pot just to coat it. I have the flame on low heat, and I'm going to add that mixture of vegetables that I just chopped up in the food processor. And then I'm just gonna crank up the heat a little bit because we wanna get this going. I'm throwing 2 bay leaves into this, and little pro tip when you're using bay leaves, you just wanna go ahead and give them a crack because that releases the flavor in them actually. And then we're going to salt our vegetables. Give them a nice healthy dose of salt. Mix that all around. And if there's some big pieces that didn't get chopped up in the food processor, it's not that big of a deal. It's all going to the same place at the end of the day. And now we're gonna add about a tablespoon of tomato paste. And again, give that a good mix. So you coat your vegetables with the tomato paste, and you're gonna cook this until your onions become translucent. For your risotto portion of this recipe, you're going to take 4 cups of risotto, which is essentially a whole bag of arborio rice, risotto, whatever you like to call it, and dump it into a pot. And then you're gonna take 2 bay leaves because it'll just give it nice flavor. And like I said, don't forget to crack those bay leaves. Some salt. And then you're gonna take whatever stock you've decided to use. So I'm using a vegetable stock. You need about 5 cups of liquid. So this is about 4 cups of liquid. I only have this one container of stock. So I'm gonna use this container of stock plus 1 cup of water. And then you're gonna turn this on and let it come to a boil. So you're gonna put the flame up all the way until it comes to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, you're gonna cover it and let it cook for about 15 minutes until the rice is nice and fluffy and all of the liquid has evaporated. So it's not being cooked like a traditional risotto where you're slowly adding the liquid and mixing. We're cooking it more like you would a regular rice. So we'll wait for this to come to a boil, cover it, cook for 15 minutes. So two things that I forgot to mention. One is totally optional and one is like one of the most important ingredients of the recipe. So obviously I forgot to mention it. But you need some tomato. So I'm using whole peeled plum tomatoes and I'm just gonna toss those in. You'll see in the next step. And then I like to add some frozen peas to mine. So just take some frozen peas and add it in if you feel like it. If you don't like peas, feel free to leave this part out. So now that your risotto has cooked for 15 minutes, you'll see it should look like that, like this. It should be nice and fluffy and there shouldn't really be any liquid left in it. You wanna go ahead and remove the bay leaves that you put inside of it, and we're gonna just transfer it to this bowl. And before you do anything else with your risotto, any next steps, you want your risotto to be fully cool because we're gonna be adding eggs to it. And if your risotto is still hot, then your eggs are gonna cook and you're gonna end up having risotto with scrambled eggs. So definitely wait until it's 100% cool and then I'll show you the next step. So if you are using some frozen peas in your mixture, now that your vegetables are cooked and your onions are translucent, you're gonna go ahead and add the frozen peas in. And then you're going to go ahead and add whatever kind of ground meat that you're using because you wanna go ahead and brown the meat just a bit before you add your tomato sauce. So just give that a mix just to get that initial frozen layer off of the peas. Now we're gonna go ahead and add, like I said, I have ground beef. You can use whatever kind of ground meat you want. Add that in and just keep mixing, and you're gonna wait until your meat gets a little bit brown and then you can go ahead and add your tomato sauce. So you can see that our meat has browned now. So what we're gonna do is we're going to take our can of tomato sauce and add it to the pot. I just add it in whole and then I will use my wooden spoon to mash the tomato up, and you see how we have all of that gorgeous tomato sauce still left in the can. We're not gonna throw that out. Never ever throw that out and let that go to waste. I just rinse it with some water and you can swish it around to get all of that tomato sauce off, and then I just pour it inside. And don't worry about your tomato sauce being too liquid. That water will evaporate as your tomato sauce cooks. So just really get in there, mash those tomatoes, and mix everything around. And then I like to take a handful of fresh basil, throw it in, because it gives your sauce incredible flavor. And we'll remove the basil later, but you know, it'll get infused into the sauce while it's cooking. And then we're gonna add some more salt, and we're gonna let this cook for about 30 minutes. So I will see you guys back here when the sauce is ready. So for our next part, while our sauce finishes cooking and our risotto continues to cool, we can come over to our bundt pan and we can start to get it prepped for all of the fillings. So I like to take butter and just rub it on the inside of the pan. That way nothing sticks to the inside, and when you go to flip this over, you don't have any trouble getting the sartu di riso out of the pan, because the last thing you want is when this baby comes out of the oven and you smell how delicious it is to not be able to get it out of this pan. Trust me. And then for the next part is we're going to coat this with breadcrumbs. That way the outside layer of our sartu di riso has a breadcrumb layer. That's the first layer of this. So here I have it's just plain breadcrumbs. There's plenty of seasoning in the sauce, in the risotto. You're gonna have mozzarella, so you don't really need any kind of seasoning in the breadcrumbs. So you're gonna just pour your breadcrumbs at the bottom, right? Start off with that much, and then you're going to turn this around until all of the breadcrumbs have stuck to the bundt pan. And then same thing in the middle. You wanna get that nice and coated. So once you have a nice coating of breadcrumbs inside of your bundt pan, you're just gonna take this over to the garbage and tap out the excess breadcrumb. So I have my risotto here, and now it's time to get ready to do the next steps for this. So what you're going to do is you're going to crack 2 eggs right into the risotto. There we go. And like I said, I grated about a cup of Parmigiano Reggiano. We're gonna throw it in here. Don't leave any of it behind. It's too delicious. And you're going to mix. Now you can totally get your hands in here and mash this all together, but you know how I told you guys that this was supposed to be completely cooled before you put eggs into it? I did not completely cool mine because if we're being 100% real and honest, I'm in a rush to get this in the oven for dinner, guys. This is real life here, so I'm just gonna mix this with my spoon until everything is well combined. I let it cool off, you know, a decent amount. I put it in the refrigerator. So a little hack, if you are in a rush to get this in the oven for dinner or anything like that, throw your risotto in the refrigerator while you're preparing your sauce and your bundt pan and all of that, so it cools much quicker. So that should be good enough now. We've combined the eggs and the cheese and the rice mixture all together. So we're going to come back over to our bundt pan. And I'm just gonna switch this so it's easier for you guys to see this next step. You're gonna start spooning your rice mixture into the bundt pan. And so the reason you add eggs and cheese to this is, one, the cheese gives it a little bit of extra flavor, but the egg and the cheese actually help the risotto bind together to create this cake. So you're gonna go ahead and flatten it in the bottom. You want a nice flat layer, right? And then you're just gonna keep adding more because you have to build a wall of risotto because that's what's gonna keep your meat and sauce mixture enclosed. So keep going. More. And then you're gonna start building the wall on the sides. So just, again, this process works a lot better if your risotto is cold because the colder risotto is, the more it binds together. So if you're using warm risotto, just try your best here and build a wall all the way around. So I'm just gonna keep doing this and I will see you back here for the next step. So then what you're gonna do after you've built your nice risotto wall is you're gonna go ahead and put a layer of your mozzarella right at the top of the Sartu di Riso. I mean, all these layers, guys, it just gets more and more delicious as you go along. This is the kind of thing that if you make it for your friends and family one time, they're gonna request it every time they come over. That's how good it is, and it feeds a crowd, and it's really not that difficult to make. So now that we've put our mozzarella layer in, we're going to go ahead and start adding our sauce. I went ahead and I took the bunch of basil out, and I also took the bay leaves out of the sauce as well. It's okay if there's a couple of leaves of basil behind, but I just took those thick stems out because we don't want anybody crunching on stems of basil. So keep adding until your pan is nice and full. And just patting it down. I mean, come on, guys, doesn't this look so good? It smells so good. I can't wait to eat dinner tonight. I love being excited about dinner, and that's the same thing that I want for you guys. I want to show you how easy it is to make such delicious dishes, whether it's the weekend or the weeknight and you need something quick. Just because you're making a quick dinner doesn't mean that you have to skip on flavor ever. So that should be about enough of our mixture in here. And then we're gonna go in with another layer of risotto. So you're gonna pack in another layer of risotto at the top over here. And I will show you what it looks like once it's packed in. So now that you've packed in another layer of risotto at the top, you're just going to go ahead and finish it off with some more breadcrumbs. So that's it. That's really all there is to it, guys. Everything just goes into this bundt pan. I'm gonna put it in the oven now at 400 degrees and it's gonna cook for 30 to 35 minutes or until you see the top of this get nice and golden brown. And don't worry, I'm gonna bring it back here and show you guys what it looks like, and we're gonna cut into it. And I know as soon as you guys see me cut into this, you're gonna run to the store and get everything you need for this because that's how good it is. I'll see you in a little bit. Here is our final product. It's beautifully golden brown at the top. You're just going to take a knife and detach it from the sides before you flip it. Go around the whole thing like this. And one really, really important thing I want to add before you guys go and flip this baby over is when it comes out of the oven, you want to let it sit for 10-15 minutes just to give it enough time to settle and not be so burning hot that when you go to flip it over, it all falls apart. So please, you've been warned, let it sit for 10-15 minutes before you flip it. So let's go, it's time. Woo! There she is. Isn't she beautiful? I mean, ugh, gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And then I just washed some basil and I just want to pop it in the middle. Look at that, beautiful. If you have extra sauce, you can put extra sauce in the middle. She's just beyond gorgeous. I mean, it makes a beautiful presentation to bring to the table if you have guests over. And they are going to love it. What's not to love about it? You have your carbs, your sauce, your meat. It's essentially a giant rice ball. So now it's time to cut into this baby so we can see the inside of it. And we have to taste it. I mean, look, cheese pull. Oh. I mean, look at that. Oh, those layers. Beyond delicious. I'm gonna go ahead and taste this now. And like I said, I made this for dinner tonight, so we're literally gonna sit down and eat this for dinner tonight. I'm tasting it right now. I know my husband behind the camera is super jealous because I know that he's starving too. So, sorry, babe. Oh my God. You guys, please make this. If you only ever make one of my recipes from any of my videos, let this be it. I'm gonna go sit down with a glass of wine and finish this off. I will see you guys next time. Ciao.